Cyber threats, the rising conflict with Syria has U.S. banks on guard. In today's cover story, a staggering amount of cash is flooding the housing market. And it's a hit. The inspiring story of a group of nuns who are rocking the music industry. Plus the retail risk, why our traders say it's a tough time to shop for stocks. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, August 30th. I'm Angela Miles. In today's First Look, stocks on edge. The situation in Syria will serve as a backdrop to trading today. Yesterday, the market staged a modest rally as new data shows the economy is growing faster than thought and the labor market is improving as well. The Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P all gained. Gold fell $12, oil down $2.15. Salesforce soars. The stock rallied more than 7% after hours on stronger than expected earnings at the software company. And a jump at the pump. As we head into the Labor Day weekend, gas prices are up 3 cents from a week ago to $3.56 as oil continues to trade above $100 because of pressure from Syria. Scott Bauer, Trading Advantage, is with us this morning. And Scott, how is the market likely to react to airstrikes in Syria?
Well, if we unfortunately see that happen, I think the initial shock, the initial blow to the market will be somewhat to the downside. I mean, you should see oil prices rise. I'm sure you'll see bonds go up, rates come down. But I do think that there is somewhat of a limited downside once all is really considered in and once we see the extent of what's happening. And the reason I say that, Angie, is because recently we've seen some actually very good numbers economically come out. Jobless claims lowered, GDP, revised upward. But obviously it's a very serious situation. And we would absolutely see, the quick market spike to the downside.
Well, that was my next question to you. With the decent economic news that we did get in the market this week, do you think we'll get a carry through? It is a Friday.
I think we're going to see very light volume. I think later this morning we're going to get most of the volume probably in the first hour of the day, and traders are going to take their positions, flatten them out, and get out for the long weekend. So I would expect as the day progresses, extremely light volume and maybe even a bit more volatility because there's not going to be a lot of players in the marketplace.
Thank you for your time today. Have a good trading day and a happy holiday.
Thanks. You too, Angie.
The escalating conflict with Syria is creating anxiety over potential cyber attacks. Bloomberg reports U.S. officials are bracing for a possible retaliation from Syrian hackers. U.S. banks are particularly on guard for unusual activity. Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and others have increased online security following disruptions last September. Government officials are also concerned about the outage of the New York Times website earlier this week. USA Today reports it suspected that the Syrian Electronic Army was behind the hack attack.
In the past, a lot of malware was trying to compromise as many computers as possible. Today, the trend we have with sophisticated attacks is to target and compromise as few systems as possible because they know exactly what they want to go after, whether it's a particular person, a network, even a specific computer.
That was Kenneth Gears, a senior global threat researcher at security firm FireEye. U.S. intelligence reports contend what Syrian hackers are capable of disrupting is limited.
The NASDAQ is blaming a software bug for causing trading to stop at the exchange for more than 3 hours last week. Specifically, the NASDAQ says there was an electronic connection problem between the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. Both exchanges have been ordered by the SEC to detail a clear account of what went wrong.
The U.S. economy had an unexpected growth surge. U.S. GDP grew at a rate of 2.5% in the second quarter, double the pace of the first quarter. Unemployment claims are down, exports are up, and the housing market is in a modest recovery.
Fast food workers continue to rally for a change to their pay rates. They protested from coast to coast Thursday, saying they want a pay hike from the minimum wage of $7.25 to $15. Many have jobs at McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Wendy's. Fight for 15 tells First Business 56 cities and 21 states are involved. We caught up with a customer and a demonstrator in California.
We are being affected, as workers, hard workers of these places, and to get paid what we get paid right now, we can't provide for our families, Well, for me, every paycheck I get a hold of, it just goes the minute I receive it. I feel like I'm working most of the time, yet not making anything.
I think they should be getting $15 an hour because they work hard. They got to put up with all that customer service and stuff like that, so they deserve more.
McDonald's says it aims to offer competitive pay and benefits to our employees. Other employers contend the wage increase will be passed on to customers.
The trend of paying cash for homes is on the upswing in many states. Realty Track says 2 out of every 5 homes sold last month was purchased with cash. Our cover story looks at who's in, but also who's left out. Home buyers paying cash is on the rise, accounting for 27% of all home sales in Colorado, 40% nationally, and in Florida, 66% of all home sales there. Much of Florida's activity from international investors, making it difficult for first-time buyers who had a hard enough time already.
In a market that already has slim inventory, it probably makes matters a little bit more difficult for the entry-level buyer because now there's even less available property in an affordable first-time buyer price range.
Young people haven't started moving out of their parents' homes in big numbers. So not only are young people not becoming first-time home buyers, a lot of them aren't even renting on their own yet. So for young people to become first-time home buyers, the most important thing is for their job prospects to improve.
What's driving it? Some say a combination of rising mortgage rates and tightening of mortgage requirements. But others say it's a trend of institutional buyers and private equity firms moving beyond the distressed markets in the Sunbelt states of Arizona and Florida.
We're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of properties on a national basis. They turn around and rent them or lease them to own, with the hope of covering their monthly or their annual costs and eventually selling when the market appreciates.
And investors with cash spreading beyond the Sun Belt are moving to places such as Chicago's suburb, Oak Park, Illinois, a market that brokers say has not attracted a big number of institutional investors until now. 2 investor firms made bids on this 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath bungalow, asking price $240,000.
It seems like a year and a half ago, it just kind of turned around. Somebody flipped the switch, and it just turned into more of a seller's market.
Sellers got some additional good news. Seattle-based Zillow reports that the number of homeowners who owe more on their home than it's worth fell from 13 million at the beginning of the year to 12.2 million by July.
U.S. banks are in the money. FDIC reports large banks earned a record $42 billion in the second quarter. Also, losses from bad loans tumbled and fewer banks are at risk of failing. Bank lending, however, increased just 1% from the first quarter.
Citigroup is in the spotlight for LIBOR rate rigging. Regulators are investigating 2 senior Citigroup execs accused of manipulating LIBOR rates to boost trading positions. The accusations come after an employee was fired for manipulating benchmark rates. Former Citigroup employees said that the former trader and his boss got help from senior execs to rig rates. Citigroup says the 2 execs are cooperating with the investigation and remain valued employees.
The Prime Minister of India is expected to remark on the rupee today. India's currency has fallen dramatically since May. Thursday, the rupee rebounded from a record low on action by India's central bank. It's anticipated the Prime Minister will address the economic situation in India, which is reportedly at a crisis level as the economy slows.
The future of airline jobs is up in the air. Industry-wide, jobs have dropped 2.4% since last year. American Airlines slashed 8.4% of its workforce as it cut costs during bankruptcy. United's count is down 0.1%. Delta's down nearly 4%. However, Boeing says it'll need nearly 500,000 pilots by 2032.
One of the largest deals in the last decade is a step closer to happening. Vodafone confirms talks are on again with Verizon. Vodafone is considering selling its 45% stake in Verizon Wireless to Verizon Communications. The deal may top $130 billion. Verizon stock jumped 3% in heavy trading Thursday.
Rumors of an iPhone trade-in program could become a reality today. Apple Watchers 9 to 5 Mac report the deal could happen in some stores. The program lets consumers trade in a phone for credit towards a newer version of the iPhone. The LA Times says employees at T-Mobile are not allowed to take September 20th off, a possible indication that's when the 5S will go on sale.
Tablets are a hot seller for tech companies, but IDC is trimming its tablet sales predictions. TechCrunch reports originally IDC forecast 229 million tablets will be shipped worldwide this year. That number is now lowered to 227 million. Smartphones with larger screens known as phablets and smartwatches are expected to threaten tablet sales.
The co-founder of Google is said to be splitting with his wife. According to All Things D, Sergey Brin and his wife of 6 years, Ann Wojcicki, have been living apart for months, remain good friends, have a prenup, and are not legally separated. The report adds that Brin is dating a Google employee. Also, the vice president in charge of Android at Google reportedly is leaving the company to join a Chinese smartphone startup.
Ford is ramping up production of its Fusion at a Michigan factory. The car is currently made in Mexico. However, with sales up 13%, the automaker will add production lines in Flat Rock, Michigan. 1,400 jobs will be created.
Elon Musk's high-speed transit concept is up for grabs. Musk has a blueprint, but is now asking entrepreneurs to step forward by going to jumpstartfund.com. The site combines crowdsourcing and crowdfunding for people interested in developing the Hyperloop. As the CEO of Tesla, Musk says he's too busy to take on the task himself.
Here's the economic calendar for today. It's personal income and personal spending, along with PCE prices, Chicago PMI, and the Michigan sentiment number. On the earnings calendar, big lots. Still to come, stock surprises. What companies could be poised for a pop? Plus, breakup rumors top the list of hot topics in Traders Unplugged, and how a group of talented nuns are proving to the music industry you gotta have faith. Bill Mahler joins us for that uplifting story next.
For the past 2 weeks, do you know what's been the #1 Billboard hit? Well, listen. Singing Nuns. All right, well, Robin Thicke, he's still overall as tops, but this modern-day Sound of Music group of nuns is the top of the classical music chart. The album is Mater Euchariste, or Mother Eucharist, as performed by the Dominican Sisters of Mary in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Sister Joseph Andrew oversees the music for this order. Now, you beat out some pretty big names, including Andrea Bocelli and Bach himself, but I can't believe that you set out to be chart-topping sister superstars.
I know it. It's been such an exciting adventure. We did it for the Lord, and he's always full of surprises.
Is this selling with non-Catholics as well?
Oh, I think across the board, because everyone wants to connect spiritually with God, you know, and yes, definitely it is, yes.
Do you check the rankings every day to see if you're still on top?
We check them periodically, definitely, yes. It's been fun, yes.
Has this changed anything for the Dominican Sisters? Do you get phone calls? Do you have paparazzi now following you around?
Actually, Bill, we do get phone calls, and it's on the Facebook, and it's on emails, and people have been very, very positive, and yeah, even more so than we would have, imagined. People really do want this, so it's been very well received, and it's kind of a constant with us now. Yes.
People like me bothering you for interviews. Now, you wrote 2 of the pieces, including I Am in Thy Hands, O Mary. Let's listen for a moment. Now, that is a sound of purity and warmth and real reverence, and it seems to me this is not just beautiful music. This is the consecrated work that you do of your devotion.
Exactly. Yes.
And is that how it works when you're writing your music and creating the choral parts, that you're thinking basically about reverence for God?
Oh, definitely, definitely, because that's really what our lives are dedicated to. So, you know, we give ourselves totally to God through the vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience that we make. So our lives are for Him. And so when we write music, it's an overflow of the love of the heart for Christ.
Well, when you take your first global tour, I wish you the best there as well. Sister Andrew, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill. Coming up, Retail Retake. Traders take a second glance at a troubled stock. That's next in Traders Unplugged. And later on, breakouts on the horizon. A trader steps in with his predictions on stocks that could be ready to rip. Chart Talk is still to come. Ready to take on the world and a few of our questions. Trader Alan Nuckman and Trader James Romali join us now for Traders Unplugged from the Flora CME Group. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Topic number one, breaking bank. JP Morgan has a number of legal issues going on, but one analyst says the bank is actually worth 30% more if it's broken up. Would you buy or sell this stock?
Well, I'm a buyer, especially of stocks that have been under severe distress. And looking at this company, they've got a lot of problems, a lot of issues, but they've sold off 10% from the highs. I'm leaning on this 50 level. 50's been the pivot since April. You can buy an in-the-money 45 call for February, have about 7 months, and your break-even's only $1 higher.
Right, so, the stock has come off its highs quite a bit here, about 10%. I see 48 as a very key level
well, that's
here.
only $2.
Until there, I want to play it nothing but flat or short. The banks have led this rally higher, and they're going to lead a sell-off if we get one here. If I have to own a bank, I'd rather own Wells Fargo.
Technically, I'm looking for the stock to get to 80 eventually.
Topic number two, retail wreck. Bill Ackman, the big investor activist, sold off his stake in JCP at a loss. What would you do with this stock?
Right, so playing any retail stock in this market right now is like playing craps at the casino. We just don't really know. There have been stocks that have held up really well.
Back
like
to
Coors,
school.
Urban. JCP has not been one of those stocks. It's been a weak stock all year long. There's been extremely bearish order flow in the equity option space. They're implying that this thing is going to go below $10.
Well, looking at this, I love stocks that have this kind of capitulation event. This guy lost $500 million with this stock, but buyers stepped up and took out his 18% stake in the company. So I think there's some value here. Because of this high volatility, there are options plays, but it hasn't been below $10 since 2001. So somewhere in here, JCPenney's going to be a buy, and there's serious money that's getting into it right now.
Topic number three, Tech Talk. The NASDAQ came within 1 point of a 13-year high. Is this a last gasp or a sign of more strength here?
I think it shows leadership of the technology sector. If you look at the PE ratio, it's down at historical lows. It's only around 13 for the PE, which is a 30-year low. So I think there's more upside, but keep an eye on Apple. As Apple gets stronger, that lifts the NASDAQ because it comprises about 10% of that NASDAQ index.
Right, I actually completely agree with Alan. We saw tech kind of lag in the first part of this year, and it's really starting to come back, of course, being helped by the participation of Apple. Apple's starting to come back a little bit here. The valuations look good. The only thing is, I think in the short term, there is some downside risk if the market rolls over once we get our taper information.
I want to talk about the market in general. The VIX did not make new highs when the market made new lows here this week. That could be a sign of some bullish divergence, and the overall market can make a nice move up from here.
Well, here's your bonus round question, guys. It's for Labor Day. Which of these statements are true about Labor Day? Labor Day originated in Canada. Labor Day started in the U.S. in 1882 in New York City. The first Waffle House opened on Labor Day in 1955.
Well, if it was in Canada, it'd be L-A-B-O-U-R. So the answer is no.
And I think it was. I think it's the Canada one.
B. I picked B.
They were all true statements.
Oh, man, every time you get me.
Every time. Don't worry, Alan. There's always next week. First Business continues right after this.
Thank you.
Tim Bigma, Trading Block, joins us now for Chart Talk to talk about some sneaky stocks. Good morning.
Good morning, Angie.
Well, traders are caught up in the taper talk. They're also watching the situation in Syria, but there have been some stocks that have made sudden moves, big bursts here. What stocks do you see going forward that could have major moves?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you alluded to Syria, which caused the price of oil to, go up sharply. A stock that had been beaten up and making a big move recently is the biggest of the big, or used to be ExxonMobil. That stock has come down, was down 9 days in a row until just recently. Bounced off major support around that 85 level. This is the third time down there. It's had a really nice pop off of there. I like the stock going forward, not only on a price basis, but also pretty attractive dividend around here, pushing above 3%. And with oil looking like it's going to, keep well bid, at least for the future, they'll feel the big benefit of that.
What about some of the metal stocks?
Absolutely, same kind of thing there. Gold is finally looking like it's found a floor, has rallied up, and these gold stocks, which we talked about a couple times, but are finally starting to move in a big way off their lows here. I like the bigger names, Newmont Mining being one, American Barrick, Newmont coming off that, high 20 level, ABX off that kind of 17 level. So these stocks have put in a nice game, but I think it's just getting going on a lot of these. There's a lot of valuation gap to fill there as well.
Well, traders were caught up by surprise by Guess, by by TiVo, by Zales. Do you like any of these names, or what other names did you put on your list?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head here. This is going to be kind of a stock picker's market, and with a lot of the names, you know, that are in the news, the Teslas and Green Mountains of the world getting a little stretched here, I think traders are gravitating towards kind of those forgotten names, and those might be the names I think to own going forward, that rotation into kind of, you know, the dogs not of the Dow, but the dogs of the Russell 2000. Value may trumpet growth here going forward.
Tim, always a pleasure. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you, Angie.
That wraps up our show for this week. Coming up on Monday, the market is closed, but we have a special edition of First Business lined up for you, including an edition of Traders Unplugged with the guys on the lookout for the next hot stock. We hope you'll join us. From all of us at First Business, thank you for watching and enjoy the long weekend.